It's time to take off your clothes, enjoy clothes-free living, and join us for Naked, Nudists, and Naturists.
Welcome to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, the show that celebrates clothes-free living for all. I'm your host, Frank Stone.
And I'm your correspondent, Lisa Monroe, and I'll be reporting on all things within the naturist community. So it's time to get naked and join us.
And enjoy clothes-free living on Naked, Nudists, and Naturists. Well, greetings and welcome in to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 17 today. Thank you for being with us. The water is fine. Just dive in. We have hot dogs and hamburgers on the grill. We have vegetables and fruit and other side dishes off to the right. We have some coolers off to the left, packed with everything. Do you like soft drinks? Do you like juice? Do you like beer? We have all that. Just don't have too many beers and walk near the pool. That's all we ask. Or if you do, walk slowly or with assistance. You know what I mean. But what a great way to spend the day. It's naked at the pool, naked under the sunshine, the slight breeze. The grill in the background. I love the smell of a grill, especially a charcoal grill. I'll take any kind of grill. A gas grill, a propane grill, those smell great too, but there's something about charcoal, as well as a campfire. Oh, I don't know if that takes me back to my youth or my younger adult days. I don't know, but I love those smells, and it just seems to go with naturism and nudism as well. We are glad that you are with us today. We give you a brand new show every Saturday morning, 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time on Spotify. From there, it goes everywhere. Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Stitcher, Podbean, Deezer, iHEART Radio, Google Podcasts, Amazon/Audible, Amazon Music, everywhere. Wherever your favorite podcast platform is, fire it up, type in Naked, Nudist, and Naturist, and the show will come up. And we also ask that you like and subscribe. The likes help us on this end with the ratings, but to subscribe helps you. That way you're notified every time a brand new show comes up. And if you are so inclined, we ask that you leave a rating on Apple Podcasts, 1 through 5, 5 being the highest. Thought I'd point that out. But more so than a rating, we appreciate the words that many of you send along to us, and we encourage that. You can reach us on Twitter. That's really the best way. Fire us up on Twitter, Naked, Nudists, and Naturists. Go ahead and follow us. We'll follow back. You can also email us. Remember, we're a little queasy about email because of a couple of incidents. But you can still write to us there. It just might take us a little longer to get back to you than Twitter. And that email address, nakedforevermore@gmail.com. It's nakedforevermore@gmail.com. And don't forget to check out our website, nakednudistandnaturists.com. When I was a kid, there was a show hosted every Saturday night and every Sunday night by the same guy. He was the music director of the radio station. There aren't too many music directors left anymore, but he was one of them, and he got to have his own show every Saturday night and Sunday night. And he played all jazz, but at the end of the show, and even throughout the show, he would say, "We only have one request of you. And that is, next time you listen to my show, bring a friend along." Well, we have 2 requests for you. 1, bring a friend along. Bring many friends along. Bring everybody along to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists. And the second one is, have your clothes off when you listen to our show. It's the only way to fully enjoy it. We have our clothes off when we broadcast. You already know that. I've said it a million times. But, of course, that's not always possible. One guy wrote in and said, "I can't. I work out at the gym. That's when I listen to your show. Can't be naked there." Well, we understand that. But clothes-free living for all of the right reasons, that is why we are here. And that's why we are glad that you listen every single week. Well, on today's show, we will have an extended segment with Lisa Monroe, our weekly naturist correspondent, coming up in just a couple of moments. We will also have part 1 today of my interview with the terrific HELEN Berrimian from the UK, a big part of British Naturism. She and her husband both, Simon Berriman, are big wheels in the world of naturism. That's my term. They don't say that. That's my term. But they go everywhere promoting clothes-free living for all, including going on regular nude walks through town, which they can do. They can legally do that in the UK. We can't do that in the USA. But they do, and they are very healthy promoters of naturism. You might remember Helen Berryman was on a show earlier this year in the UK. We'll talk about that during the interview. The equivalent of Good Morning America or the Today Show in the USA. And she was fully nude on the show during the interview. So we'll talk about that. She is also the Women in Naturism coordinator for British Naturism. That is a post that had been previously held by Donna Price, and then Helen Berryman took over. It's very similar to what Linda Weber does in the USA. She is the co-chair of WINNER, which is Women in Nude Recreation, a part of AANR, A-A-N-R. So today, part one of my interview with the terrific Helen Berryman. I know that you will enjoy that. You are listening to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 17 today. We really thank you for being with us. We enjoy this time together. We look forward to it, we plan for it, and we crave it, and we absolutely enjoy it, and we know that you do too. As you can tell by the music that has been sneaking up on me the last few moments, it's time to go out to our weekly correspondent all about naturism, Lisa Monroe. So let's bring in our weekly correspondent and hear what she has to say today. Hello, Lisa Monroe. How are you today?
Hello, Frank. I'm doing great. How about you?
Not bad. Always good
Good.
to see you. And you're always, as I've mentioned before, always smiling, always ready to go. You never come in a nasty mood, which I appreciate a lot because we have a lot of that in society, but you're always in a good mood. That's good.
Well, thank you. I try to be. My father always told me to wake up like a chicken in a new world every morning and forget whatever had gone on the day before. So he said, if you go through life with that attitude, you might get smacked down, but the next day you're fine.
Yeah.
So it's not easy to do, but you try.
It's really not a bad way to go. Somebody told me like 175 years ago when I was, a kid,
Hmm.
they said, you have a choice. You can be mad all day or you can be happy all day. I thought, wow, I actually have a choice. So if something ticks me off, I can stay mad or I can say, whatever, let's move along. Much, much better to move along, isn't it?
It's always our choice, and how we react to things are our choice, and sometimes we don't react the way we should. But
Yeah, well, that's true.
and then you smack yourself and go, okay, just chill out, you don't need to do this. So
Yeah, yeah. And we are not psychologists, so we're
no.
not dispensing any medical
Nope.
field advice, but
No.
it just seems to work for us. So I want to talk to you today about something that Donna Price posted on Twitter recently. Up until a few years ago, she was the British Naturism's Women in Naturism coordinator, and she stepped down a couple of years ago, I believe. And that's when Helen Berryman took over, who just happens to be our guest today. Total coincidence, not planned that way. Donna posted it, and we asked her if it's okay to discuss this, and she gave us permission to do so. But it has to do with, what do you think is or are the biggest challenge or challenges facing naturists today? So I thought we'd go through her list and get your response, and then I'll weigh in as well. So this is basically things that might prevent people from living the naturist lifestyle. The first one, the weather. Is the weather a factor for you, or have you heard that for others?
I certainly have heard it for others, but for me, the weather's always a factor. I am one of these people, if it gets under 80, I'm freezing to death. So,
Yeah.
I live in Florida, but guess what? It gets under 80 and I've got the Afghan over me. It's 74 air conditioning, I have the Afghan over me. So it's a challenge to be a naturist in when you have that intolerance to any kind of temperature. Easier for us in the warmer climes than those in Minnesota or wherever. But yeah, I think the weather, and I think it also impacts a lot of things. And like you said, we're not psychologists, but if you're a naturist and you can't get out because there's 6 feet of snow on the ground,
Yeah.
and you're kind of feel trapped in your house, and maybe you can't even be a naturist within your home, then you've got, there's some psychological things I think that happen to us. So it makes it very uncomfortable.
That's true. Now, I've lived in a colder climate before, and I know you have too. Not as cold as the climate I used to live in. And okay, so you can't go out in the end of January. It's 0 degrees and 3 feet of snow on the ground. You can't walk around naked then. That would be silly. You'd end up, probably getting sick. But you can still live the naturist lifestyle inside, or they
Right.
have these clubs that have indoor facilities, or even what they call non-landed clubs. They form a club of naturists, and you get together at somebody's house, or you rent a hall.
Hmm.
So you can still do it. It's just not as easy to walk out your front door almost any day of the year and say, "Hello, world, I'm naked, and here we go." So, yeah, weather could be a hindrance, right?
It could definitely be a hindrance. And I think, again, it's what you make of it. How do you
Mhm.
react to it? How do you take care of your situation? And it's like you said, you can perfectly be a naturist within your home. And if you are in a community that's open enough where there's, or close enough that there's a facility that you can go to, then that's a, a great idea and a great way to at least be with like-minded people and be able to relax and enjoy what you enjoy.
Yeah. All right, the next one on the list Donna Price posted, tolerance slash acceptance of the wider community. And I'm guessing she means the non-naturist people, just the overall community in general. They might look, down upon you a little bit, like, hey, what the heck are you doing over there with your clothes off? Is that a hindrance for you, or have you heard that from others?
Oh, I certainly have heard it from others. And in fact, just reading some of the responses to Donna's post,
Yeah.
that seems to be one of the one issue that's more bothersome to most people than almost anything else. And that is that, if you say you're a naturist, we're looked at as, being kind of weird or
Mhm.
swingers or you're into strange things. And that has nothing to do with what we want or what we
Yeah.
like. And so I
Yeah.
think that, and plus the sheer fact that that if you say something to your aunt Lou or somebody else, then you're going to get some pushback or some just total intolerance about your behavior. And when there's no behavior here,
Yeah.
it's just life without clothes. And so that's a real problem, I think. And from what I see, for an awful lot of people.
That's true. And I know some folks who really don't care about that, but I know some who do.
Hmm.
If I tell my even my best friend or my closest cousin, or you mentioned Aunt Lou, whoever that
Hmm.
is, I don't have one, but sure, they sometimes like, you what? What is wrong with you? Now we do tolerate different styles of dress. You can wear shorts or pants or a dress, no problem. But yet we take our clothes off, say, hey, 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 now what's going on here?
Hmm.
And why is that? And if we didn't have stores, we wouldn't have clothes anyway. So it's kind of the natural state. But in your thoughts or your opinion, why is that?
Well, I mean, if you look back in history, there's most of the Roman Empire, the Greeks, most of those people that were in warmer climes did not wear clothes very often. In fact, the only time I think that some of them did was if there was some sort of formal event, they'd actually put on clothes to go to a formal event.
Hmm.
Then as people kind of, moved out into the colder climes, then you had a necessity for clothing, and so they kind of just grew into people wearing clothing more than anything, and then came the shaming and the the connotation that being nude meant something besides what it meant, and so I think we've had this problem almost in memoriam, but we used to not have as much now as we do today, and
Yeah,
it's frustrating to think about the fact that 50 years ago nudity, especially for guys, wasn't even a consideration.
right.
If you were going to go swimming, you went nude.
Yeah,
Even in my high school, that's what happened.
yeah,
But now, don't walk out your back door with
yeah,
even with skivvies on, because they're
yeah.
going to get you.
As I told you, there's some locker rooms in different parts of the world
Hmm.
where you can't even be naked in the locker room. You have all of your clothes off. You have to
Hmm.
shower, but you better not be seen naked to and from the shower.
Yeah.
A little ridiculous. What about number three on Donna Price's list? Lack of organized events. Some people organize them, other people wait back, and they can't find anything. Is that a hindrance?
Well, for me, no. Although it would be nice to be somewhere where there were more venues, but at least here in Florida we have the beaches, if
Mhm.
nothing else, and a couple of great clubs. But I think that for me, organized events is not what I'm really going for. If I want to
Mhm.
go to an organization, but there are a lot of people who are, and unless you go to a club, there's really nothing. I guess you have nude biking, but you've got the cruises that they do. So there are some things, but they're not enough, and they're probably not available to everyone. So it's a real problem.
Yeah, and I don't put a lot of stock into organized events. Some
Mm-mm.
people do, and that's not
Yes,
to
they
denigrate
do.
it. If you do, that's fine. I just look for other things, but we'll talk about those in a moment. including number four, the ability to connect and meet or socialize with like minded people. If you can't find other naturists, well, you can't hang with other naturists. So that could be a hindrance, right?
Very much so. And, you know, it's really difficult. My best friend is totally not into this. I mean,
Mm,
this is a person who, wears 3 layers of clothing to sleep, and which
mm,
blew me away. But, but, but so there's no discussion. There's no, if you even bring it up, that people go, oh, I can't believe those people.
yeah.
I have friends who are musicians who have performed in at a nude resort,
Hmm.
at a nature's resort, and they didn't. They were clothed, but you would be surprised at these relatively, sophisticated people who were like crazed because, oh my god, they were naked.
Yeah.
Well, it's a nudist resort. What did you think? But then they ran into someone that they knew,
Okay.
and they were highly embarrassed. That person wasn't, but they were.
Yeah. And then it goes
And
back
it
to what we said before.
exactly.
What about the lack of venues? Just not enough places to go. Is that a hindrance to
Well,
not so
again,
much
we're
you, but to other people?
yeah, for those of us in Florida, there are places to go. But if you live in the middle of the country,
Right.
or in a community areas where there are smaller communities, then you have to go a ways to get to where you want to be. So it doesn't
Hmm.
become a common thing for you. It becomes a destination thing, and
Hmm.
that's in itself a fun thing to do, but it's also frustrating because you just can't pick up and go on Saturday and spend the day and come back home.
Right.
And so yeah, I think the lack of venues is really really bad, and not just that, but venues where you can go play tennis if you wanted to, and not at a club. Or
Right.
there
Right.
should be some, but I guess there's not enough of us, or there's not enough lobbyists that are looking for this, that
Mhm.
we can push past those barriers. So I think it's a
Yeah, I think so too. What about clubs with aging or dwindling memberships? Clubs out there are losing members. They pass away or move on, and they don't have new members to come in. Is that an issue?
I think it must be an issue for a lot of the resorts, because I mean, these resorts keep their doors open because people come.
Yeah.
And if they're seeing fewer and fewer people coming, then that's got to be a problem. And someone mentioned in their comments to Donna that one of the problems was that the clubs don't advertise, that they
Mm.
don't, they don't send out information, that this person felt almost that they didn't want new people there, that they were
Yeah.
content with their little group, and they didn't
Mm.
want, and there's always that possibility you get someone new and you've got, add one person to a mix, and sometimes that can throw the whole thing off. So
Yeah.
I think people also get a little bit cliquish and clannish about their environment, so they don't
Sure.
want new people. So there has to be some sort of give and take here, because if you have a resort and your people are dying, don't you think you might need to let other people know you have a resort? I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of
Sure.
like the
Mm.
the economics supply of power, and the demand for products. So I don't know, but yes, I think that's got to be a real issue.
The last one on her list, then, is it fear of being open about your life with family and friends? We've already addressed that a little bit, but
Yeah,
it certainly is, isn't it, for a lot of
it
people?
certainly is. I think that's probably the biggest fear for most of us. I think most of us grew up. I didn't grow up in a nature's environment,
Right.
but I also grew up knowing I didn't want to wear a lot of clothes. And because I
Mm.
grew up in the South, I only wore shorts. I mean,
Right.
I didn't have a pair of blue jeans till I was a junior in college because I didn't need them. I didn't want them.
Right.
So I think that when you've grown up in that environment and you still have the desire to want to be a naturist, then and you can't be open with your family and friends because it's just been never been done.
Hmm.
And that it's probably the biggest fear, because if you tell them, are they going to walk away?
Yeah, sure. You cannot untell them. Once
No,
you've told them, it's
that's
out.
right.
Yeah.
And I realize that there are people who are faced with other choices of making those decisions and telling families on possibly even more life changing things, but
Right.
it's still an issue because we all care about our friends and our family, and we don't want to alienate them over something that we enjoy just because they don't.
Right. No, exactly. Is there anything else you can think of? She has the last item is something else. Anything else that we can think of?
I think that she covered a tremendous list here of the
Yeah.
things that affect people more than anything. But I think also it's a lack of there's no education to the public and the law. There
Mm.
are laws that are being, from what I've been reading, that are being crafted now in an awful lot of places that are dealing with things that don't have to do with naturism, but the choice of the verbiage that they're using is almost eliminating nudism anywhere.
Yeah.
So that's something that, I think we really need to be cognizant of, because we may be forced to go back into those, clubs only,
Yeah.
and
That's true.
may lose the naked beaches. And so we don't know what's going to happen. And I think that the societal changes are probably going to be as impactful to us as anything else we can do.
Yep, I agree. I had written back to her and I said items 2 and 7, tolerance, acceptance of the wider community, and also the fear of being open about your life with family and friends. That's what I hear more than anything else. But all of those are excellent topics that she brought up.
Exactly. And I agree. And just looking again through the thing I loved about this particular survey that she offered was that there were people from all over the world:
Hmm.
India, New Zealand,
Yeah,
South Africa, Europe, US, South America, everywhere. And they
yeah,
were all having the same issues. So
that's
we
right.
know we're a global community. We know
Yeah.
we all have the same problems. And yet we are at mercy of where we live as to how well we can solve those problems.
That's right. And we want to thank again Donna Price for posting this and for giving us permission to discuss it. If you, the listener, have anything to add, go ahead and write us. Everything is in the show notes as far as how to reach us, and we will pass your answers along to Donna Price as well. Lisa Monroe, always great to see you and talk to you. Thank you for being here, and we will see you on the next show.
Okay, Frank, great to be with you too. And appreciate everyone listening. And we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you. Our weekly correspondent, all about naturism, the terrific Lisa Monroe. We really thank her for all of her contributions, and what a joy to have on the show with us, naked nudists and naturists. And we also thank Donna Price for putting that out there. What keeps people from trying naturism? Maybe not you, because you're listening to the show. You might already be a naturist or a nudist or living clothes-free for all the right reasons. But maybe you're thinking about it, and that's why you're using this show, to get some ideas. But if you have any thoughts at all as to what held you back to begin with, what's holding you back now, what's holding others back, people you know, your family members, people at work, your friends, whatever, pass those along, and you can reach us here, NakedForeverMore@gmail.com, but also on Twitter, Naked Nudists and Naturists. You can find us there. But you can also reach out to Donna Price. I don't think she would mind. She encouraged responses. You can find her on Twitter, Donna Price. She goes by the hashtag, the name, Naked Freestyler. You can find Donna Price on Twitter. And let's generate that discussion even more so. She got some great responses as to what's held people back before, what's holding them back now, what's holding others back. And once we get that information, then it allows people like Donna to go out there and change the world just a little bit more, to encourage more people to try naturism, nudism, clothes-free living for all the right reasons. You are listening to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists today, episode 17. Brand new show every Saturday morning, 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. It drops on Spotify, and from there it drops just about everywhere else. We're not in control of when it drops everywhere else. In many cases right away, in other cases an hour or 2 or 3 or 4. We have no control over that, but we guarantee if you want to listen right away at 6 a.m. Eastern Time on a Saturday morning, you will find a brand new show every week on Spotify. Well, let's get to my interview now with the terrific Helen Berryman. I've already told you earlier in the show, she is the Women in Naturism coordinator for British Naturism. Kind of a big deal over there. Everybody knows Helen Berryman, not only in the UK, but around the world. She's been on many shows, TV shows, radio shows, podcasts like this. She has 3 jobs in life. She'll tell you about those. Every job involves her being nude. Now, what a way to go. she she needs to be our new hero around here. Everything she does, clothes free for all of the right reasons. So let's get to it right now. My interview with the terrific Helen Berryman. So let's go out to the UK and meet a terrific lady over there. For a long time, it's my understanding she had some issues with her life, with her body, just didn't really feel totally confident. And at some point discovered naturism, and now she's a totally different person. We're going to find out all about that. She's actually naked on TV, and not too recently. She's an officer as a position with British Naturism. She's done a nude cruise. She once modeled with clothes on, but then the clothes came off before the night was over. We have so much to talk about, so let's bring her to the show this morning. From the UK, Helen Berryman. Good morning, Helen. How are you today?
Good morning, Frank. I'm very well, thanks. How are you?
Not too bad at all. Just living the life. And it's, where I live over in the U.S. in Florida, it's still very hot every day. But somebody told me just yesterday it's not really the case in the UK, right? It's starting to get a little chilly now.
It's not too bad today. It's warm enough to not have any clothes on, so that's a bonus.
Okay.
And it's dry.
Yeah.
Simon's doing the gardening, so it must be all right.
All right. So it's warm enough to be outside with no clothes on.
Yeah.
Oh, well, good. Okay.
I guess it depends on your threshold, how much cold you can take.
That's true. Well, as naturists, we tend to be able to take a lot because we prefer to take the cold as to putting our clothes on, right?
All right, absolutely.
Okay. Well, let's get to your backstory right away. And then I want to get into all the details that surround it before, during, and after. You kind of, for a long time, didn't feel too good about yourself, which is the case with a lot of people.
Yeah.
They body shame themselves, I guess, for a lack of a better term. And at some point, the clothes came off, and you said, Helen, you're like the greatest woman in the world, you're saying to yourself. And now you don't wear any clothes at all unless you have to. How did that transformation happen? Take us through.
Oh gosh. So, long story short,
Yeah.
I'd sort of grown up equating nudity with sex, really, trying to sort of look a certain way in order to fit in, being objectified by men from a young, quite a young age. And that's what I'd learned. A nasty sexual experience when I was very young helped me shape those views as well. And fast forward a little bit, lots of yo-yo dieting, lots of wearing big baggy clothes. And then I re-met with Simon, who I used to go to school with. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but
No, they didn't.
we were at school together. I remember him because he was very nerdy. And he remembers me for being a rebel, too gobby. But yeah, so we hooked up again on Facebook back in 2015. And quite early into the relationship, he revealed that he liked to live a clothing optional lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, whatever that is, I don't really get it. Whatever, you do you. As long as it doesn't affect me, I don't really care what you do.
Right.
Anyway, it did affect me because I didn't like having him naked around my daughter, who was 8
Oh, right.
at the time. I sort of stepped into chief protector mode.
Yeah.
And we had lots of strong conversations about it. And I just said, look, can you be dressed around her? I was really against it. Like, I was completely freaked out about it. I didn't understand it, didn't understand why he had to be naked. But anyway, so lots of conversations ensued. I had a conversation with my daughter as well. And I said, sometimes you might see Simon without his clothes on. Is that a problem? And she didn't have a problem with it. So it was me. And I knew that. I knew I had a problem. Then fast forward again a little bit and the pandemic. And I think that just, I don't know, shook me a little bit. It was just like, wow, life's very, very short. It was really hot the first lockdown in the UK. And I got tired of fighting with Simon and just let him be naked and got used to that. And then for me, he bought me a bikini, which I wouldn't have dreamt of even wearing a bikini. And I put it on because it was hot. And he took some photographs and I wasn't repulsed. I was like, okay, let's accept the fact that I'm a plus size woman. I'm mid-40s at the time. You don't look that bad. Give yourself a break.
Yeah.
So, so you touched on a little bit of modeling, and that was for like lingerie and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it did give me some confidence. And it was during the modeling that Simon got me involved in a normalizing nudity project.
Okay.
So the idea was that we would go to a naturist place and all the naked people would draw me as the
Yeah.
clothed model. So like a reverse life drawing
Right.
session. So I did go on the understanding that I would keep my clothes on. But again, it was really hot.
Yeah.
About an hour into it, I felt really stupid being the only one fully dressed,
Mhm.
sweating.
Yeah.
And so, without much thought, I took it off and nothing happened. It was like, everyone just kept drinking their tea or doing whatever they were doing. And that moment was, I was like, okay, I get it now.
Mhm.
People are talking to me,
Mhm.
not my boobs.
Right.
People didn't care if I was naked or not. It was just like, that was the moment I thought, okay, I get it now, Simon.
Yeah.
I understand what you've been talking about. There's nothing sexual about it. And that was my moment. Yeah. So maybe a month later, Simon and I booked a return visit to the naturist place, same place, and stayed the weekend. And I came back like, everyone needs to know about this. I was wrong. Let's tell everyone. Let's tell the world. So
Yeah.
that's what I've been doing.
Just out of curiosity, then, all right. So Simon asked you to go to this naturist resort. Everyone's going to be naked except you, Helen. You can have your clothes on.
Yeah.
What was your initial thought? Like, this just sounds crazy, but I love him, so I'll do it. Or were you all in? Like, yeah, what the heck? Let's try.
No, I wasn't into it at all. We had a few arguments about whether I was actually going to turn up. And I think the biggest thing for me was actually arriving and seeing all the naked people. That was quite overwhelming. And I was like, oh my God, why? What's wrong with these people? Why do they want to be nude?
Yeah.
But, seeing them just go about their business or just chatting and the clothing was incidental, I could see that there was a community thing going on
Mhm.
and there was an acceptance and, the judgment, all of the judgment had gone. And I'm like, yeah, I like this. I'm in.
Isn't that amazing how that works? And it's hard to tell people that and get them to believe you. That They really have to experience it themselves. But it truly is. You put on whatever clothes you put on, someone's going to judge you.
Yeah,
They're walking behind you at the grocery store. Oh, look at her, whatever. Or coming towards you, look at her, whatever. And
yeah,
same with guys, but women tend to get that kind of nonsense more often.
we do. And we're our own worst enemies, really. We sort of do it to ourselves as well. I get anxious if I have to go somewhere these days and be dressed like, I don't know, going out for dinner or something a bit posher.
Yeah.
I get anxious about what I'm going to wear. Does my bum look big in this? Have I got muffin tops? Have I got bingo wings and all this sort of stuff? I don't have any of that when I'm naked because my skin fits me.
Right.
It's a bit loose, but it fits.
Well, yeah. To me, I've obviously never been a woman, so I can't really comment with tremendous knowledge here. But just based on what I've seen with women, it must be a whole lot tougher on women when you're getting ready to go out because you just mentioned it. The earrings have to match the other jewelry, the makeup has to, and then you're trying to coordinate the color of this with the color of that, and not to mention, does it look good on me? Whereas, I, as a guy, if I'm going somewhere nice, it's very simple: a suit, a tie, and a dress shirt, dress shoes, and socks. We're good to go. It's just a matter of what color, and I ultimately don't even care about what color.
Yeah.
Women go through a whole lot more, don't they? Just from that
They
perspective.
do. But I've also noticed with naturism, naturist fashion, there is none. We put clothes on when we're cold, so it doesn't matter if it doesn't match. Like if you're in that environment, it really doesn't matter. It's the textile environment where we sort of beat ourselves up and, you're then sort of leaving yourself up for judgment, I feel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's gone on. I don't want to say since the beginning of time, because in the beginning of time, I think everybody was naked. So this started at some point, and you see it all over the place. You mentioned you and Simon went to school. I'm reasonably sure that there was some of that going on at your school. People judging other people. Oh, I can't believe she wore that today, or oh, look at her this in that particular outfit. So it starts early, doesn't it?
It does. And we use clothing back in the day to sort of represent what's going on at the time. So for me, I went through a little bit of a gothic phase. That was me trying to express myself.
Sure.
Yeah, people judge me, look at Helen the weirdo, like, whatever. So I'm getting used to the whole weirdo title. I'll take it. It's fine.
Well, even doing interviews now, I've been interviewing people forever, but it's mostly in the business world, the medical world, the education world, the college world. And so when we do interviews, I'm dressed. Now, the only thing I don't have on is a suit coat because it would get too hot. But, I'm in dress shirt and tie, and I do want to make sure they kind of coordinate so I don't look ridiculous. A purple tie with an orange shirt. Well, I don't know. Maybe that would work. Who knows? But, when I do these interviews for Naked Nudists and Naturists, it's so much easier. It takes me 10 seconds to get ready. I merely walk to the computer and start.
Press the button, we're off.
That's right. It just makes all the difference in the world. Now, at some point, so that was what, about 3 years ago or so? I'm going by memory. This whole modeling thing, when you realized, wow, life is better without my clothes, about 3 years ago.
Yeah, so it was the first lockdown, so 2020, July 2020 was that life drawing class.
Okay.
And then by the following November, I'd become the campaign coordinator for British Naturism. From zero right round. Accelerate off.
I think that's what they call a meteoric rise in the world of naturism. Just from absolutely nothing, get your clothes on. I'm taking mine off to, hey, now you're telling the world, let's take them off. I think that's pretty amazing. In how many months? Like 4 or 5 months? 6 months?
Yeah, so July to November, you do the maths.
Well, that's very impressive. Now, before we get back to all that, you recently were on a show in Great Britain.
Good Morning Britain.
Good Morning Britain.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to tell our listeners in the United States, we have a show here called Good Morning America. We also have the Today Show, and there's some other shows out there. One of those shows that everybody watches. It's on every morning, and everybody's watched it for years. It's been on forever. So to our American friends, can you imagine? You fire up Good Morning America, and there's the host interviewing a fully naked woman on the set. And I think a lot of people who are not naturists probably just passed out by my statement right there. But that's basically what you did, right? Good Morning Britain. There's Helen Berryman being interviewed on set for about 8 or 9 minutes, as I recall, fully nude. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. They blurred me out, so I was like a little head hovering around. But yeah, fully nude there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen the video, and you were blurred out for sure. But were you blurred out on live TV at the time?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
How did now there were 3 people on the panel with you, all in clothes, of course, and
Yeah.
the main guy across from you was leading the conversation with you. But the two in the middle, how did they react when you came out? Did they know you were coming out nude? Were they shocked? Did they make any comments?
They knew that I was going to be nude, and apparently backstage, Ed was a bit nervous and didn't know sort of how he was going to be around me. But actually, he was really cool. And he said to me before we went live, "How do you feel being the only one nude?" And I said, "I feel okay, but obviously I'd prefer some other people to be naked with me, but I feel okay. How do you feel?" And he was like, "I'm okay too, actually." And he was very supportive in his interview, I felt.
And nobody panicked. Nobody panicked, and nobody ran for the exits. Oh my gosh, there's a naked woman here. Let's get out of here. They
No,
stayed.
quite
They
the
didn't.
opposite.
Yeah, and it was very professionally done and appropriately done. What about the rest of the crew? Because when you're watching TV, the only thing you see are the people on the camera. So we saw 4 people, but there are a lot of other people. You have the director, the camera people, the sound people. I mean, the list goes on and on. About how many people, and I don't even know if there was a live audience, but about how many people were in the studio when you went on Good Morning Britain, totally nude?
So including the panel, there were definitely 4 cameras, a few sound guys, a runner. We had all the runners in the green room as well, bringing lots and lots of coffee. So yeah, I guess a good 10, 15 people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what a lot of people don't picture. They say, well, Helen's on TV naked in front of 3 people. No, it's actually about 15 people. And nobody had an issue with that. No comments. No, hey, lady, could you put something on? Nothing like that.
No, everyone was really supportive. There was lots of congratulations afterwards. Well done, Helen.
Yeah.
You're amazing. Well done in the conversation. You're very brave. And I don't see it as being brave. I see it as being able to represent naturism in a positive light. I don't go out looking for platforms, but if I'm offered something and I feel it's going to be like a serious interview, not to be mocked or anything like that, then I'll do it. And so that's why I did that one, because I felt I was reaching a lot of people, and I was representing naturism in a good way,
Yeah.
not like they're weird. And
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
I want to tell people. Naturism isn't weird.
No.
It's weird
No, it's
because you
not.
don't know it.
Yeah.
And if you don't experience it, of course it's weird. Anything new that is out of what your day to day life is all about is going to be weird.
Yeah.
And I just want to tell people that I'm just normal. I'm still relatable. I'm 3 years into it. I remember how you feel. I was that person.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I'm passionate, I think, because I still remember, I can still relate. And I want to teach people that it's not weird. You will become a much nicer person yourself. I've
Mhm.
become much less judgmental myself.
Yeah.
And that's just amazing.
Yeah, it really is. And again, that's one of those things we can talk to a blue in the face, but other people won't get it until they experience it. So, how do we get people to experience it? You take somebody like yourself who's out there now, listening to this show.
Mm,
How do we get that particular person? Let's say it's a woman.
mm.
How do we get that woman to say, just go for broke, honey, take your clothes off, go to a naturist resort or nude beach and have a good time? How do we get them to that point?
Wow, if I had the answer to that, I'd be
Yeah.
winning, but I don't. I mean, I've done a few things where I've inspired other women to come forward. For example, that Good Morning Britain thing. I don't know if you know, but I also work at the Naturist Foundation, which is a naturist resort.
Okay.
So at work, following this Good Morning Britain interview, a lady came in. She said, "I'm only here because of you. You've inspired me to come
Wow.
and try it for myself." And I'm like, "Oh my God, that's
Yeah.
amazing."
Yeah.
So, if I'm helping just one person,
Mm.
then I'm winning.
Yeah.
Another example I can give you is part of British Naturism. We do the Great British Skinny Dip, and there are different skinny dips all across the UK at different pools or clubs or whatever it might be. And we work with the British Heart Foundation to raise money. And so I've met women there that have come just to do a skinny dip, to raise the money or to try something new, not necessarily naturism, but the fact that you're swimming without your clothes on.
Right.
And just having that one experience has converted them.
I'll bet. Yeah.
They've met the people, they've seen the community, and they want to come again.
Yeah.
So it's just trying to find something that will bring women in where clothing is kind of incidental. I mean, the skinny dip, yeah, it's a skinny dip. You don't wear clothes.
Right.
And once you've tried swimming without your clothes on, you never want to put a costume back on.
No, never. Never, never, never. I had some people at my house recently, not naturists at all, and they want to go swimming every day. Okay, so we're in the pool and I have a blasted swimsuit on. The whole time I kept thinking, I love these people. I'm glad they're here. But when they leave, boy, this suit is coming off. But yes, yeah, it really can't. That's another thing that can't fully be described. You jump in a pool with a suit on, okay, having fun, having a good time. You jump in fully nude, and it's like, whoa, where did this come from?
Yeah.
And
I mean, if you're jumping in with a bikini or a swimsuit on, you got a wedgie straight away.
yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, plus it's just
Oh.
wet. It weighs you down. Especially men if they wear the bigger suits, and it just adds weight. And then if you're not a place where you can take it off when you're done swimming, then you're sitting in a wet suit for who knows how long, depending how hot it is or if the sun's out. It could be for an hour. It just
Yeah.
feels yucky, doesn't it?
Really unpleasant.
Yeah. Whereas if you're nude, you get out, you towel off, you're dry as can be, and you go on with your day, all within a minute. That's a lot better than a few hours.
Yeah. I think naturists have got it down pat. We're lazy, really. We don't like wearing clothes. We don't like washing clothes.
Yeah.
We don't like wasting time with drying off.
Well, you made a comment on that show, a Good Morning Britain, and you told the guy who was I guess, the adversary, at least on the show,
Mm,
and you said, I don't know why you're offended. I could be offended at the color of your shirt. I think you called it a topic, and no, very few people stop to think about that, other than naturists. I'm offended at you being naked, therefore you got to put clothes on. Well, how about
mm.
if I'm offended by the color blue? You got to change shirts. It never goes the other way, does it? It's only we have to do something.
Yeah, because what I suppose what society thinks is by taking your clothes off, you're an exhibitionist,
Hmm.
you're deviant, whatever it might look like.
Yeah.
And we're just not wearing clothes. That's it. It's just a body, as I kept trying to say on the show. We were born this way. I said to the guy as well, like, you're naked in the shower, right? And he was like, well, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And how are you feeling talking to me now? And he was like, okay. So what's the problem?
Yeah. Yeah, you did ask him, "Are you feeling uncomfortable now?" He said, "No, I'm fine." So I don't know his background, but it seems like he made a few steps forward during that interview. He wasn't uncomfortable talking uh, semi face to face with a naked woman. I don't know how far apart you are, what, 8, 10 feet. It's hard to tell.
Yeah,
But
about that. But I mean, after the interview, backstage, he asked for a photo. So there is a photo of him and I stood together, me naked, him not.
did he consider, or did you ask him? Hey, why don't you just get your clothes off now that we've had the interview? We'll get a picture together, or did that
Well,
not even come up?
I did say something like that, and he went one step at a time.
Well, good for him. At least he's thinking about it, I think, after your appearance. And of course, that appearance on Good Morning Britain got you, for lack of a better term, publicity slash notoriety all over the world. And we heard about it here in the USA. And I heard some radio shows in New Zealand, in Australia, and some other countries. They're covering that, as well as Great Britain, of course. People were talking about your appearance, and then it led to so many other things. But you were uh, not intentionally, but you kind of instigated a lot of great conversation around naturism, didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, it did take off with the GMB stuff, but we were doing other stuff before that.
Hmm.
Little bits and pieces in the media, a few radio shows, just talking about naturism, really.
Yeah.
But I guess by being present, and I guess that's why I'm doing it. I'm being present and saying it's okay. We're just naturists.
Yeah.
We're not going to hurt you.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad they let you do that because I'm guessing the audience for that show is rather huge. It's rather huge over here for the Good Morning America and the Today Show, whatever else we have here.
Mm,
But it got people, maybe they hadn't heard of it before, or maybe they had, and kind of like you said before, well, those people are a bunch of weirdos or psychos or whatever. And then they saw you. It's like, well, wait a minute. Here's a normal human being, female type person.
yeah.
Yeah, she has no clothes on. The world's not ending. The building didn't crash down. Maybe there is something to this because you came off as somebody who really enjoys this lifestyle, not to be weird, but because it's so much better, healthier, mentally, physically, certainly socially and developmentally. The list could go on and on
Mm.
and on, but it's the difference between night and day in so many ways, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and I think by being present, you are opening up other people to have conversations.
Oh yeah.
Did you see that woman on telly this morning? I couldn't do that. Oh, I could. I've done this and I've done that. You're having a conversation. We have a campaign at British Naturism called Just Tell One Person.
Mhm.
So you're literally just telling one person, whether it's the postman or your delivery guy, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
We've got a sign on our front door saying the person answering this door may be naked.
Yeah.
And therefore, that postman's going to go, God, I went to this house today and there's naked people in there. And
Yep.
again, it opens up a conversation. It's keeping it alive.
Yeah. Now you have slightly different laws over there. In fact, maybe radically different laws than we have over here. I wish we had more of what you had, but it's not necessarily illegal to be nude in public. Is that correct?
It's not illegal to be nude in public as long as you're not trying to cause offense
Right.
or intimidation. So if you're just going for a naked walk, that's perfectly fine. But it's what society will accept. I mean, personally, I don't really want to rock up to the supermarket and do my shopping naked,
Right.
on my doorstep and have people take the piss or whatever that might look like. That's not what it's about for me, but for others, they want to do that and they want it to be that you can be naked absolutely everywhere.
Okay.
But I don't want to upset people either.
Right.
So my naturism I do for me and my well-being, and also to sort of encourage others to do it. But that doesn't mean to say that I want to go shopping naked.
But could you in the UK? Could you go grocery shopping with no clothes on legally?
You legally you could, yeah,
Okay.
as long as your intention is just to go shopping and not to sort of offend anyone or
Oh.
upset anyone. And that's the
No,
thing. I mean, if I was to do that, I would probably get harassed.
true.
So
Yeah,
why would I do that to myself?
yeah. Probably harassed in different ways. People looking upon you with disdain, and lady, cover up, get the heck out of the store, and other people making comments along the sexual line. I'm sure,
Mm,
like, look at that lady over there. She must be looking for something beyond groceries,
yeah.
because that nonsense is out there too. And you used to get a lot of that, but now as a naturist, you really don't. Do I have that correct? It just the whole world has opened up to you.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, a lot of my friends now are also naturists, so they understand where I'm coming from. My sort of world is naturism now. Like, I have
Yeah.
3 jobs, and they all involve naturism.
Yeah. That's pretty good. Well, you have the resort,
Yeah,
you have British Naturism. What's the third job?
H&E magazine.
Oh, very
Yeah,
good.
so I write
All
for
right.
them monthly as well.
That's right.
So
I did see that. Yeah.
my brain is constantly like naked, naked, nudity, naturism.
Now, I know some women in my life. Every day they're online looking for clothes, the newest dress, the pair of pants, whatever. They're just looking for stuff. And if they drive by a clothing store, they just feel like, oh, I have to stop. There might be a sale.
Mm,
When's the last time you looked online for a new clothes, or went to a store, or saw a store and just decided to stop by? And there's nothing wrong if you've done that. It's just compared to a lot of American women, I'm guessing probably not a whole lot, right?
right. So I like to go to charity shops. So I don't like spending full price on clothes anymore.
Right.
So I will look at the charity shops or thrift shops or whatever you call them, and pick something up for a couple of pounds,
Mm.
and that's me done. That's fine.
And then you're done.
I'm
And then
done.
yeah, and then you're done. And if you have to put that on later, you have it. And if you don't, that's even better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about this. You recently went on a nude cruise. A couple of thousand people on the boat. Nobody had a stitch of clothing on, other than staff, as I understand it.
That's right.
Just take us through this, because there are a lot of people out there who've never done this. They're naturists who've never done this. There are non-naturists who can't imagine doing this. So what's that like? You sign up, you get on the boat, and then just take us through.
Yeah. So we had the opportunity to go to Florida and do the bare necessities cruise around the Caribbean,
Okay.
a 2 week cruise. And yeah, so we queued up with everyone else, got on the ship, and then we had to wait. We had to wait until we sort of departed,
Yeah.
and then the captain put an announcement over the phone, over the speaker. Right now, you can get naked, and everyone just whipped their clothes off, like, yeah. So that was fun, and yeah, so you had to dress if you wanted to go into any of the formal restaurants.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you could. There was a communal like eating area. As long as you had a towel, obviously naturist etiquette.
Yeah.
As long as you had your towel, you could eat naked. There was a couple of islands that we would have to be dressed on. So obviously we did. Although we did find the nude beach in Antigua.
Okay.
That was nice. That was my first nude beach experience.
Oh, I didn't know
Antigua,
that. Okay.
not too shabby.
Yeah. Is it one of those beaches where, 'cause I had some friends of mine went on a cruise years ago, not naturists. They got off the boat, and there were two signs that said nude beach, and it pointed to the left, and clothing beach to the right. And so you had a choice when they got off the boat. And she's not a naturist, but she said, I got to check out this nude beach,
Yeah.
and ended up enjoying it quite a bit. And I kind of lost contact with her, or somebody I used to work with. But they explored naturism just basically because they got off the boat and saw the sign. Was that how it was for you, or did you have to seek this out? Was it far from the boat?
No, we'd heard about it, and I was with. Do you know Linda Weber?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
AANR. So I was
And of
with her
course.
and her husband,
Oh, very
and they'd been before, so they knew where to go, and of course we went with them.
all right. That's very good. Yeah, we've had her on the show. In fact, a huge supporter of naturism. In fact, she is the face of naturism. That's her moniker.
Yeah,
Uh,
we work well together. We support each other in our work quite
yeah,
well. So, yeah,
that's very good. And she's involved in the same thing as you are, the WINR, which what, Women in Nude Recreation. Do I have that right?
I think so. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Okay. And that's something similar to what you're doing now.
yeah. So she's my counterpart, if you like. She's the American version. I'm the British version.
All right, very good. So back to the cruise. I have a question about you said the formal dining room. Everyone on the boat's naked, but you got to put clothes on for the formal dining room. Do they ever say why?
No, I don't know why. No, I haven't got an answer for that one. Maybe it's something to do with cruising and dressing up for captain's dinner or whatever.
Okay.
There was some themed nights as well. Like one night we did 1920s, so I put a flapper dress on, went
Yeah.
to the formal restaurant with Stan and Linda again, and but I think Simon and I only ate in the formal dining rooms 3 times out of 14.
Okay.
So yeah, we just couldn't be bothered to get dressed.
Right.
It
Right.
was hot.
I'll bet. So other than the formal dining room and these particular dress up nights, you got what, 2,000 people, 3,000 people just walking around doing their thing naked?
Yeah, I mean the ship was massive. It was
Yeah.
over 11 decks, so it never felt crowded.
Yeah.
And it took a good while to walk around the ship. Yeah, and yeah, it's just an amazing social experience. Again, a level of acceptance, non-judgment. There may have been a couple of people that weren't genuine naturists. You're going to get that, but you have to sort of handle that. So there was a little bit of like staring, maybe. A
Okay. Yeah,
a
that's
couple of
not
the
good.
women
No.
felt that there
Yeah.
was a little bit of that going on, but you just handle that.
Was that addressed through staff? Do you have to report that, or just somebody walks up to the guy and says, "Hey, knock it off," or how'd you deal with that?
Um, Strength in numbers, really. It's if it became a problem, then I would have said something like straight away. But it didn't become a problem. You're just aware of people looking, and
Yeah.
their intention is not the same as yours. Then they're gonna look.
Yeah, I mean, you walk into a grocery store fully clothed, someone's going to see you, and they're going to, see you walking through the door, and so we don't think that's unusual. So see you walking through a door naked, and by the way, they're naked too. That shouldn't be a big deal, but they will see you. Now, you're right. If they continue to stare, as you walk through the room, and their eyes are glued to you,
Mm.
well, that's when it becomes a problem. But that's, to me, in my experiences, that's been a very few and far between experiences at naturist resorts. It just doesn't happen too often, right?
No, not really. Especially at resorts, it's usually fine.
Yeah.
Usually fine. But I just did notice a little bit of that on the cruise.
The terrific Helen Berryman, doesn't she have her act totally in gear about naturism, nudism, clothes-free living for all the right reasons? We need more people like Helen Berryman to spread the word. You can find her on Twitter, Helen Berryman17, and she's also a big part of British Naturism. You can contact her there as well. And we will get to part 2 of my interview with the absolutely terrific Helen Berryman on next week's show, which will be episode 18. And we have some other guests planned for down the road, and I think you'll be very happy with them. All about naturism, nudism, clothes-free living for all the right reasons. You've been listening to Naked, Nudist, and Naturist today, episode 17. You already know that we come to you with a brand new show every Saturday morning at 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. On Spotify, we also post a preview of the upcoming show every Wednesday morning at 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. You can find that on YouTube, on Twitter, on our website, nakednudistandnaturist.com. And we enjoy hearing from you by email, NakedForeverMore@gmail.com. On Twitter, a direct message, Naked Nudist and Naturist. You can find us there. And also you can leave a message through Spotify and through our website, nakednudistandnaturist.com. And if you're listening on Spotify, occasionally we'll post a poll question or a general question. We appreciate your answers there. And don't forget to respond to what Donna Price posted. What has held people back? What's held you back from trying naturism, nudism, clothes-free living for all the right reasons? You can write to her directly, Naked Freestyler on Twitter, or send your messages to us and we'll pass them along. Well, thank you for being with us today on Naked, Nudist, and Naturist, episode 17 today. We give you a brand new show every Saturday morning at 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. Continue to join us. Check us out on our website, nakednudistandnaturist.com, Spotify, Google, Amazon/Audible, Apple Podcasts, and also on Twitter. You can write us anywhere, anytime, any place. And we thank you for being with us today. Plan to join us for every single one of our shows here and have your clothes off when you're listening. We have our clothes off when we're broadcasting, enjoying the naturist life.
We celebrate clothes-free living for all. Remember to enjoy being naked and join us again for Naked Nudists and Naturists.
We drop a brand new show every Saturday morning, so come back and join us. Have your clothes off when you do for Naked Nudists and Naturists. Have a great clothes-free day.